Hello everybody, welcome back to 10-Minute Reviews. I'm Jason.
I'm Jason.
We're Jason. And confused. And we are going to talk about, this time we're not going to talk about a book per se, or an author per se. We're going to talk about a trilogy. We're going to keep it
a lot of walking.
combined on that trilogy. No, we're not going to, I mean there is, but there's some horse riding too.
Horse riding?
We want to talk about, we're not talking about one of those books yet. An author that if you're in the fantasy genre, you probably know. He is a extraordinarily well-known fantasy author and an absolutely incredible author. Talk about RA Salvatore and his initial trilogy, the one that really made his name, made him famous, the Icewind Dale Trilogy. Icewind Dale Trilogy, absolutely incredible trilogy. It's hard to say whether the Icewind Dale Trilogy or the Dragonlance Trilogy are the real seminal TSR Dungeons and Dragons type books. Honestly, probably the Dragonlance Trilogy, because that really created the party and stuff like that. But the Icewind Dale Trilogy is probably better. In fact, it's definitely better because it spawned an ungodly amount of books, whereas the Dragonlance Trilogy did spawn quite a few different sequels on individual characters, but not to the level the Icewind Dale Trilogy did. It was absolutely phenomenal. Icewind Dale Trilogy is what put Forgotten Realms on the map, and Forgotten Realms has exploded. It's generally the primary Dungeons and Dragons setting. It's been, Magic the Gathering did a team up, Legends of the Forgotten Realms, I think, set. So it's just absolutely amazing, and it's got a few similarities to Dragonlance in that it does have the party per se, but this party it's not quite as super balanced. Like the Dragonlance one has, like she was saying, it's got the barbarian, it's got the fighter, it's got the thief, it's got the wizard, it's got the cleric, it's got them all. The knight, even the Dark Knight, I guess, the Kitiara. But whereas the Icewind Dale Trilogy, it basically boils down to 4 characters, and while eventually some of them end up with a little bit of spell casting and stuff like that, it really doesn't have a wizard or spellcaster. It really doesn't have a cleric. It's basically a ranger, 2 fighters, and a thief. It would basically be what the party is. It's based around. You could tell as he was writing it that originally the main characters were the dwarf Brunner Battlehammer and his adopted barbarian son Wolfgar, and his adopted human daughter Catti Bree, and then and then the secondary character was, and really Catti Bree was the secondary character at first in Icewind Dale, and then the secondary character of the noble Drow ranger Drizzt Do'Urden, and you could tell from how it starts out really that Bruenor and Wolfgar were kind of the main, were originally thought of and conceived to be the main thrust of the series, and I think that he really intended that Wolfgar and Wolfgar and Catti Bree would be the real ongoing characters and develop, because adopted by a dwarf and stuff like that. But Drizzt Do'Urden became literally a legendary character in fantasy books, and it's one of the most incredible characters anywhere. Guinevere, his companion.
Pronounce that.
Yeah, Guinevere. It's his companion, Panther, and Drizzt is a Drow, which is by trope the evil race, but he broke away, escaped, and there's other books on Drows, on Drizzt's past and things along those lines. He's noble, he's a ranger, he worships a good goddess, but he's an outcast. He lives up in the Icewind Dale, which is the name of the trilogy, and lives out in the woods. He's friends with Bruenor and gets to know Wolfgar and Catti Bree. And the Icewind Dale Trilogy basically follows the adventures of the 4 of them and the things that happen. Some are pretty messed up, and introduces some pretty awesome characters throughout the trilogy. But if you haven't read it, the Icewind Dale Trilogy, you must read it. Spoilers ahead. So if you don't want any spoilers, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons.
I've read these.
Go ahead and turn the video off now and go read the Icewind Dale Trilogy. Starts out with the Crystal Shard as book 1. Gotta go read it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for the spoilers. Now, the thing about these characters is they are, in some ways, classic characters. Bruenor is a classic character. He's your dwarf with the axe and the shield and the helmet with one horn broken off. Wolfgar is your and he's a smith. Wolfgar is your barbarian, big, massive, super strong barbarian wielding a magical hammer that was forged by Bruenor. Catti Bree is, at first she almost comes across as the helpless female, and then she slowly develops into her own as she gets the magical bow, Talmaril, and so she kind of becomes their distance person, which is kind of also a reversal of certain things, because Drizzt, the ranger, those of you guys that played Dungeons and Dragons know they're typically your archers and your distance people, but Drizzt is basically the world's greatest swordsman. Basically, he's a dual scimitar wielding, just badass. It's just incredible. And then Guinevere, his magical panther, that is a pretty cool character in and of itself. So the Icewind Dale Trilogy, it starts out with the Crystal Shard, and the Crystal Shard is it's this magical shard that turns into a tower, and he basically. The first one, the Crystal Shard, is basically your trope of the evil wizard and the evil wizard's plan to take over the world of the Icewind Dale and the party's attempts to stop him. Now, Regis, we haven't really talked about Regis much. Regis, the fifth member of the party, is a halfling and the thief, the rogue of the party. But he has this magical gem that lets him hypnotize people and get them to do what he wants. And he doesn't talk about that where he got the gem and things along those lines, which leads into book 2. Book 2, the Halflings Gem, deals with Regis,
And his sticky fingers.
who gets kidnapped by Artemis and Trary, an assassin, who turns out to be Drizzt's equal in swordsmanship, or very close, and kidnaps Regis because Regis stole the gem from Pasha Pook, I believe it was, in Kalimport, which is like a pirate town almost. It's a port town far to the south of the Icewind Dale. I mean, just imagine basically going from Antarctica to Italy, pretty much. And the Pasha is a crime lord. He's basically their Jabba, and he wants his gem back. It's very, very valuable. So he gets kidnapped by Artemis and Trary, and of course, then the rest of the friends track him down to recover Regis and the gem along with it. And of course, throughout this, and Trary crosses swords a few times with Drizzt and is not particularly happy to discover that he doesn't know who's better. So that ends up becoming an obsession with him. Now, the third book, Streams of Silver, to be honest, I actually do not remember the overall plot behind it.
Streams of Silver is when they find Bruenor's home.
Oh, that's right. So Streams of Silver is where they find out Bruenor is basically almost like a king in exile. His clan originally came from Mithril Hall, but it got overtaken by monsters, basically, and he had always wanted to recover Mithril Hall.
Talked about all the time, going,
and
we're gonna have dinner in the hall, and back I'll show you my home and the hall, and
it's all about the hall, always the hall. So after the adventures of the first couple books, especially with the Halflings Gem, where the party, the northern barbarian and the Drow ranger have now finally expanded themselves out into the rest of the world, and are no longer northern shut-ins basically. So the party decides they want to help Bruenor reclaim Mithril Hall. And that is the subject of the third book, which, how they do it. Bruenor almost dies. They think he's dead. And how they finally reclaim the hall. and Bruenor becomes the king. And it's actually the reason that the group, the party, through subsequent books, and when you hear about read reviews, stuff like that, they're called the Companions of the Hall, is because they were the friends, the companions from Mithril Hall. Absolutely phenomenal series. Again, it is absolute must read for fantasy fans, and it's actually a great gateway series for fantasy fans, or for people that want to introduce, say, their children to fantasy books. I mean, it's not for like 8-year-olds, but
want to get their toes wet in the realm of fantasy in general,
or Dungeons and Dragons, things along those lines. So they're not connected, but and there's some minor connections. But if you've got like a preteen or teenage looking for a fantasy series to dip their toes in, the Icewind Dale Trilogy is definitely one of them. I'd say it's one of the top 3 best choices. So check it out, everybody. Thank you very much for watching.
We'll see you later.
Bye now.
Bye.